All right. Welcome to another episode of the Simply M Spotlight, hosted by Simply M The Movement. My name is Vanessa Castillo, founder and CEO of The Rich Girl Mindset, and I will be your co-host this afternoon. The Simply M Spotlight is a special new series where we will feature special guests on various topics that will enrich, educate, and inspire the community here at Simply M The Movement. We are thrilled to have you join us today as the founder and CEO of Simply M. And your Simply M Spotlight host, Keri Udbe, will be interviewing transformational life and business coach Bruce Van Horn. A little bit about our hosts and special guests. Keri was born in Cuba and raised in Miami, Florida. Her desire to bring healing and transformative power of music and movement is what birthed her community, Simply M The Movement, which is on a mission to change the way women use and incorporate creativity, dance, and music in their daily lives by providing virtual and in-person dance classes that are simply easy, simply fun, and simply inspiring. Bruce Van Horn is highly respected transformational life coach, business coach, philosopher, speaker, thought leader, best-selling author of Worry No More, 4 Steps to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Oh yeah, okay, I'm here for that. And he's the host of the podcast, Life is a Marathon, which is the #1 podcast in personal development, listened to by millions of people in over 210 countries. Wow, this is very impressive, Bruce, let me tell you. It's also the longest running podcast on Apple Podcasts, over 8 years old. So I must say, I'm honored to be alongside you two today. Let's get this interview party started. And if anybody joins us, we can answer those questions if you have them. And on behalf of Simply M The Movement, we just thank you for being here with us. So,
all right.
Get it.
Woo, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for that incredible introduction. And we're also so happy to be here with you today. So Bruce, wow, like Vanessa said, that
Who's she talking about?
oh, me? Yeah. Yes, you. Yes, you. Yep. And I can attest to everything that she said to describe you. I, happened to be in the US, but I actually found you while I was visiting another country, another city. I was in London, England, and I was looking for a podcast, ironically enough, on running. And then I came up with Life is a Marathon. I was like, listen to this. So this was October and this was October 2015, and I was completely mesmerized. First of all, by the tone of your voice, not because you have a face for radio or podcast, but because you really, but most importantly, the things that you were sharing and that you were saying, and from that moment on, I was hooked, and I went back because you had already been on Apple Podcasts. So I had to go back to previous episodes, and I did that because I just couldn't get enough. So thank you for putting out such an amazing podcast out into the world.
It's been a wild ride. Yeah. When I started it, I had no idea that it would reach as many people. And, so it's a humbling and honoring and crazy thing.
Yeah. And, and then also your tagline at the end, the first time I heard it, when you say, I love you and life is a marathon, so let's train for it. But that I love you, and I know you now personally. I have the honor of calling you friend, and you are my coach. You've been my coach, and I tell everybody on these episodes, I say it takes a village to raise a Keri. So I'm just like humbled by all the folks like you that have picked me up along the journey of life. But what I wanted to say is that you exude love.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So everything that you do, I know you put so much love into it. And now you've poured yourself into your newest adventure. And that is your new book that's about to launch.
Life is an adventure. And this last year has been crazy because you know a lot about my life. So.
Yeah, you've had a lot going on. So I just want to say real quick, hey, Bailey, thanks for joining us. We have another
guest.
Oh, it's great to have you here. We're going to open up for some Q&A. Feel free to put anything in the chat if you have something that comes up while Bruce shares. So thanks for joining us.
Yes.
So Bruce, yeah, of course. Love you, my friend. So tell me, Bruce, about this new book, about my victory routine. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so the idea for this actually came from a really good friend of mine, Janelle. And, she was working through sort of a daily devotional. And, and we were talking and she said, you could totally do this. And, it was one of those light bulb moments because I had never considered doing, the book is more than, just a bunch of quotes, but the overwhelming majority of it is 365 quotes that have been inspirational to me, right? They're important to my life and they keep me grounded and, and that foundation is so important. But I was also in the process, I've been teaching what I call my victory routine for years. I teach it to my coaching clients. And I had actually been thinking about how can I because I've talked about it a little bit on my podcast through the years and I work with my clients. And I was also in the mood to start a new book anyway, but I decided, what a great way to expose people to a daily routine, because most people don't have any routine other than to hit the alarm, the snooze button 3 or 4 times. And then, you're scrambling to, shove some food in your face, get dressed, get out the door, and your day starts off chaotic. And that's your daily routine. That's your morning routine. And you start off in chaos. As soon as you hit the snooze button, you've already started the day in this procrastination avoidance energy. And it's just no way to do it. And part of, as I reflect back on some of the big events that have happened in my life, coming up on almost 10 years ago, stage 4 prostate cancer, I was already doing a morning routine very similar. I wasn't calling it my victory routine yet, but I had that going on. And then this past year in November, I was diagnosed with I really shouldn't be here, right? I realize I should, but I had a life-threatening aneurysm in the center of my brain, and the doctors were blown away because most people just drop dead from it. They don't have any symptoms, and and so once I got that diagnosis, that sort of rocks your world a little bit. And what I've noticed in my own life and in the life of my clients is when life gets really stressful, we stop being creative, right? We literally go into sort of this fight or flight mode, but we revert back to what do we do sort of like robots? What do we do robotically? What is just our default, how can I get through the day with as little thinking as possible? And for most people, that default level is pretty unhealthy, right? We can turn to alcohol, we can turn to drugs, we can turn to sex, we can turn to lots of different things. But if we do this work on ourselves, it's constantly raising that platform that we stand on, so that the next time we get knocked down, we don't fall as far, right? And so I've been doing this routine on my own for 15 plus years. And I look back because people said, wow, you seem to have handled these things amazingly. And again, I don't know that I have or haven't, but I do know that if it wasn't for this routine that I have to prioritize my mental health, my emotional state, then I probably would have come unglued, because 20 years ago, I was really looking for very practical ways to end my life, sadly. And so this time around, that never even occurred to me. And so my victory routine is born out of that. It's sort of based on a quote. Well, I never really recommend the book itself, but there's a classic book by an ancient Chinese military strategist called Sun Tzu. And he wrote a book called The Art of War. And it reads like, imagine going to a Chinese restaurant and opening up their big case of fortune cookies and just cracking them all open and reading all of it. So it reads like an entire book of fortune cookies, which is entertaining. But one of the quotes that really struck me many, many years ago was a quote that said, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, where defeated warriors go to war and then try to win. Right. And that describes so much of our lives, right? The war is obviously metaphorical for our lives. Now, in his case, it really is a military training book for his soldiers. But in the metaphor of our lives, we've got relationships, some of us have kids, we got dogs, we got bosses, we've got traffic to deal with. We have politicians who make our heads explode when we hear the things that they say. That's the war that's out there. And unless we're doing something to nurture what's going on inside of us, we're constantly blown about by that storm of life. And we're caught up in the emotions of the world. We're angry at the person driving next to us who just cut us off. We're angry at a politician. We're worried about an email that we got from our boss asking us to change a report or whatever. And those things all still happen, right? But we're supposed to really just be the observers of those things rather than getting so embroiled in them. Right. Yeah. And like you and I have talked about many times, we have to be careful of those I am statements. Right. There's a subtle difference between I am so angry. Right. Because in that I am statement, I am claiming that I am the energy of anger. And you literally are in that moment if that's your belief. So the difference between I am angry and I am feeling angry is a huge difference. Yeah. Because now you're aware of the feeling. Most people aren't even aware of it. They're caught up in the war, right? But if I can see the feeling and observe, oh, it's just something that I'm feeling, it's not something that I am, then I can be victorious over that, right? And then there's something that, another quote that is foundational to the book itself is by a leadership expert, John Maxwell. And John Maxwell said, you will never change your life in any significant way until you change something you do daily. Your secret of success is found in your routine. Yeah. Right. What is it that you do? What separates, just the ordinary person from a Michael Jordan, an Oprah Winfrey, or Richard Branson, right, who have achieved lots of success? We all have the same 24 hours, right? But what are our routines? What is it that we habitually do? And more importantly, what is it that we habitually think? Because every single one of our behaviors is supported by an underlying belief or thought system. Right. And so that's the goal of the book, is to really give people a real tool. Right. So I don't like to coach in just theoretical woo-woo, just think happy thoughts and life is good. No, that's actually unhealthy. Right. But I like to have real tools in my tool bag so that when a situation arises, I know I can handle that because I've got the tool.
Yeah. And I love that you just shared that point, because I wanted to say that your victory routine is also grounded in, and I love movement, the victory.
Yes, I do. The victory pose.
Exactly. And what I love about that is that, number one, and I'm going to let you explain it, but we're incorporating here mind, body, soul. This is such a simple move, a simple pose, but it's so impactful. And so a lot of times also, I feel many people that are caught up in that default routine that you explained, just get up, check your phone, shove food down your face, blah, blah, is because then they hear all these other things like just think happy thoughts and whatever. And that just real quick does not support anything. Or they hear these very complicated morning routines that they're like, oh my God, I can't even get to step 3, right? Let alone do all those steps every day. So I want you to tell us about the power of this victory pose and the simplicity and the power behind the routine itself that goes with this book.
So the victory pose has been around as long as human beings have lived on this planet. It's cross-cultural, right? It doesn't really matter. You watch, you and I, we live in the United States. You were born and raised in Cuba, but children all over the world, regardless of what language they speak, regardless of their wealth or whatever, when something great or exciting happens in their lives, we naturally just sort of do this.
Yeah. Well, right? Mary Lou Retton made this like on the box. Yeah,
exactly. American football touchdown.
Yep.
Right. Or something, I instinctively, I'm a marathon runner. Nobody actually taught me to stick my hands up in the air as I cross the finish line of a race. It's just something that we do naturally. Right. It's this expression of joy, of victory. We overcame something. But it's so much actually more than that. There's actually a Harvard scientist named Amy Cuddy who did some really interesting research on it. And recently her research has come into question, but it doesn't matter. Just because some of her research scientific findings haven't been repeatable for some other experiments. What we do know is this, though. And so our bodies are these amazing chemical manufacturing machines, right? And just like the cruise ships that you and I have been on, imagine that there's people who work down in the belly of the ship. They run the engine and, now everything's computerized, but imagine that, if you will. They don't actually know what's going on outside the ship, right? And so they rely on signals being sent from the captain or whoever's on the bridge and is looking around, telling them to make the ship go faster, make the ship go slower, or whatever. Our bodies can't tell the difference, is the point that I'm trying to make. Our bodies don't know the difference between something that's real and something that we're just thinking about. Mm-hmm. Everything is real to the body. I mean, think about this, right? Go back to and just don't, because it's unhealthy. But think about a very, very difficult time in your life, right? A breakup, the death of a loved one, or whatever. If you think about that and here's an interesting phrase. We often say, oh, well, I remember how I felt back then. Right? You don't actually. It's actually just the opposite. You feel how you remember, right? But you are always feeling something in real time, right? And your body doesn't know that my dad didn't just pass away. My dad passed away 5 years ago yesterday, as when we're recording this, right? And so if I go back into that pain, my body responds chemically. And so we have what's called the stress response, that fight or flight mechanism. The real scientific terms are we have what's called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And so the sympathetic nervous system, which a lot of people call the red zone, that's you're stressed out, you're in fight or flight mode. And what happens? Our bodies need that. So, a lot of coaches will say, oh, well, you want to never be in the red zone. Well, that's not true, because if you're being chased by a tiger, you need to get the heck out of there, right? But we're not designed to live in it. And that's why we have so much chronic stress and illness in our culture, is because we live in the red zone, in the sympathetic nervous system, because of what we're thinking. We're thinking about an email. We're thinking about somebody just cut us off in traffic. We're worried about a presentation we have to make or a hard conversation we have to have with a loved one. Our body doesn't know. Our body perceives a threat, a danger, and it goes into fight or flight mode. Cortisol, the stress hormone, goes up. Your blood pressure moves all the blood out to your extremities, to the muscles to fight or flight, and deprives your body of the blood necessary for the vital organs. All of your nutrition shuts down. When you're stressed out, it doesn't go to McDonald's, supersize it, right? Get the Big Mac and the large fries. It doesn't matter what you eat when you're in the red zone, because your body is only digesting food for fuel, not for nutrients when you're in the red zone, right? However, when you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, that's called the rest and digest mode, just the opposite happens. Cortisol drops, serotonin, that the happy, feel good, you're sending a signal to the body that says, we are on the beach. We have no predators. We are in the land of plenty. We have plenty to eat. So your body will actually start burning fat because it's not going to try to store it for potential fuel anymore. Your digestive system is going to digest for nutrients, right? And your immune system kicks in. It's a very healthy state. It's also a state where we think creatively. We do our best, probably, you remember in college or in school, we used to say, oh, well, I do my best work under pressure. No, you actually don't. Yeah. Your brain isn't actually functioning the way it's supposed to. Your brain, you may have gotten through that big paper, but had you actually started 3 months ago and didn't wait until the last minute, you would have written a much more creative, thought-provoking paper. So my point is that here's what when we're aware of that, what is going on in my body is directly related to what's going on in my thoughts. And so this is really important. I never tell the story of my father dying in a way where I re-feel the emotions again. I just talk about the data, or I talk about how beautiful it was to have been with him when he took his very last breath. I talk about the beauty of having known I had a daughter pass away in the year 2000, and to never feel those again because your body doesn't know. So here's the deal. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard is almost irrelevant, okay? But what we do know is those two states of our body, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Guess what you will never do when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger? You will never stop and go, oh, life is good. You just don't do that when you're chasing something. You don't sit down and go, oh, let me read an inspirational passage in a book. Let me practice my affirmations.
Yeah.
Right. Let me actually, when the alarm clock goes off, let me just turn it off and immediately get up out of bed, stand in the victory pose.
Yeah, just doing this already.
Just stand.
Feels good.
Whether there's scientific research to this position or not, doesn't matter. You wouldn't do this if you were under attack.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so it sends signals to your body that says, we're good. And so you're already starting, anytime you do that, you're putting your body in this relaxed, refreshing, beautiful chemicals, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, if you hold it long enough. But all of those are great for your body. And so having a routine that constantly puts you in that parasympathetic nervous system, a gratitude journal,
and
just little simple things.
I bring this up all the time, which is why I wanted you to touch on the pose itself and the movement of it, because I speak about this in my dance classes often, which is that when we pay attention to the body postures, and everything that we're constantly in. What are we in? Looking at our phones, we're here, we're turned inward, like in a closed off way. At the computer in Miami, we all need a car, driving. So we don't open ourselves up. And so when we're not opening up our bodies, we're not opening up the energy, the space within us and around us, everything is small and closed off and negative. And in that energy that you were explaining, and this is what your mind, is perceiving and processing, like you said. And again,
you're in a protective mode when you're condensed, contracted. It's very protective. Whereas if you open up, you're vulnerable, and you wouldn't do that unless you felt safe.
Exactly.
And so dancing.
Well, right. And so again, the simple movements, right? The simple movements, the simple pose, this victory pose, you start your day this way, you're sending the signal, like you just said, to your mind, which then sends it to your body that we're good, we're winning the day. And how you start the day, I used to have a lot of struggles. I would wake up in what is it? Was it a rabbit? The one in Alice in Wonderland? I'm late, rushing here. I was like all the time in that mode. And I remember when I really started getting into coaching and really went back to therapy, I remember saying, all I really want right now is peace. I didn't know all these things that you just explained, but I remember just intuitively saying, all I need right now is peace. I don't remember what peace feels like in my body and all that. Yeah. But with time, again, with all the coaching, like with you and all the other amazing people that have helped me, I started to really look at what my routines were. I started to look at how I was starting my day. But again, and it's not just because you've been my coach, you are my coach and you're my friend, but honestly and truthfully, what you've put together in this book is something that I believe in because it's simple, but it's effective. And then your life, like you said, you've just raised the defaults, and now you can only build from here. And you're 100% right, because when I do go through rough days, I do have days that I'm like, could anything go right? Like, please, but I never go back to like the basement level. I'm here, I'm at another level, and it's not because I'm supernatural. It's because I've believed in, and I've started to put these small changes into my life, like your victory routine. So now the world is going to have it in their hands.
Exactly.
Awesome.
The world. Yeah. And this is how you're impacting, Bruce, so many people, which is what I love so much about you, is that that's why I said you exude love with everything that you do. So thank you and so when does it launch? Tell us.
So the official book launch is, and I'm 95% sure of the day, right? So July 25th. The book is all written right now. So right now we're going through the final layout page and the cover design. I will actually have proof physical copies probably tomorrow. But I want to take a couple weeks and put together a launch team. So if any of you want to be on my book launch team, that would be great. Yeah. And then really to kick it off on the last Friday and Saturday in July, I'm having a retreat, a book launch party / retreat / workshop. It's a Friday, Saturday in Richmond, Virginia, and it's going to be called, the book is My Victory Routine. And so the retreat is going to be called My Victory Retreat. Isn't that clever? It's genius, right? No, but yeah, so we're going to spend 2 days together where, I'll walk you through the routine. Everybody who comes, you get a free signed copy of the book. And, we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. We'll talk about so much more, right? Because we've got my other book, Worry No More. And I've been doing workshops for years. And so we're going to do a deep dive. But the goal is, how do we live a victorious life?
Exactly.
Right. And I need to be careful like that, because I actually really, I struggled a little bit with the title of the book, and even with the routine. And Sun Tzu's quote, it's kind of military, victorious warriors, win before they go to war. But the goal, I don't want to be a victorious warrior who's always at war.
Right.
Right. But knowing that the war is inside, right? Once we conquer that, once we conquer the ego, my ego's name is Little Bruce, right? And so once I've got Little Bruce under control, there is no war inside me anymore. So the goal, the subtitle to the book is 365 Days of Inner Peace, Personal Growth, and Unbounded Joy.
Right.
Because when we have those things inside us, what is happening outside the world, and again, this isn't an avoidance technique. Oh, I don't want to deal with that today. Happy thoughts, happy thoughts. No, it just means that I don't have to fight what's going on inside here too.
Right.
Right. And so that's the retreat is going to be that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I apologize. It's just because I really didn't want to forget, because the retreat, I think, is such an amazing opportunity for anyone that can join you. We're going to include it in the show notes and everything else, but please share your website, which is easy to remember, where you have all the amazing things you have going on. Because then I want to explain real quick about your Patreon group.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Bruce Van Horn, and creatively, I have a website called brucevanhorn.com. So people didn't know I was a comedian.
Till today.
But yeah, so brucevanhorn.com/retreat will take you right to the registration page. A lot of these retreats can get a little expensive. I wanted to remove all obstacles, as many as possible. So the hotel that I'm having it in, while it's a very, very nice hotel, it's not the Taj Mahal, so it's not going to cost you $1,000 a night. I think right now the rooms are $150 a night. It's at the Wingate by Wyndham, which is a very nice hotel franchise. The retreat itself is $197, and it includes, a copy of the book. There's some VIP tickets that are available for people who want some additional perks, which include a couple coaching sessions. It includes a private dinner with me on that Friday night, and just, little extra perks like that.
And I can, and that's the thing, the extra perks I think are so worth it, because everyone needs Bruce in your life. And what
thank you.
Yes. And what you said about putting down all the barriers, again, I can attest to that, because coaching is something, just like therapy many times, that for many feels inaccessible because of the financial roadblock, right? Just like eating healthy and that sort of thing. So what I love is that you've created this incredible Patreon group that is so financially feasible. You even have like levels, and we receive, as your Patreon members, daily videos from you that actually coincide with this victory routine. And these daily videos for me, and the interaction with the group, where we all share and we're transparent about what you shared, how we've applied it, what we struggle with, is daily coaching that would cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. And to be honest with you, I don't even think would be as effective as this, because when we're all together, we've got you plus the group. It's like this exponential power dynamic of support and coaching. And that it costs what, like less than 80 cents a day?
Yeah,
right?
$25 a month. So it's like 83 cents a day. Yeah, everybody gets a free 7-day trial period where you get everything. And then, and again, no long-term commitment either. If it's not working for you, then, you don't have to continue next month too. But the value is amazing. And I love that so many of you are using it as your every morning. You start off with it. And my videos, I get a little corny sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. And like you said, I love coaching. I know it's what I was born to do. I really do believe that. And But what I get so much joy out of, and the same with my workshops and the cruises that you've been on with me, people will say, oh, well, I went on this cruise, or I went to this workshop to go see Bruce and to hear what he had to say, only to discover, oh, that while they were there, they met Ketty, right? Or they met Steve or whatever. And lifelong friendships have been founded out of that. So many people who've been on our cruises are now, lifelong friends. I did a workshop, 8 years ago in Hawaii, and I still interact with people who went to that 1 week's workshop in Hawaii 8 years ago. And I hear from them that they still keep in touch with the other people who were at that workshop, right?
Which is incredible.
So this idea, when you bring like-minded people together who are here to support each other, there's no competition. Let's lift each other up, right? And that's what I love every day when I log into to see what's going on in my community. I of course get notified by all the comments, and most of them have nothing to do with me. It's you all commenting on your post. One of you will post, hey, I really struggled with that chatter in my head got away from me, or I didn't listen to my intuition when I should have. And you guys are like, sister, I totally relate to that. Me too. We can do this. And so that supportive community, as the leader of it, that's what really makes me smile.
It really does. It really does. And I know that the three of us here have that community mindset. Vanessa, the rich girl mindset. It's all a community of powerhouse women, Simply M, the movement, a dance community, your coaching community. And again, it's something that you're adding to your routine. You see, it's right. Like something simple, and your videos are like 4 minutes. And then, so instead of, right. So how about this for anyone that's watching the video, instead of using 10 minutes to scroll through your social media to make yourself feel bad about seeing who's on vacation and you're not, and whatever. And I'm sure you use more than 10 minutes. Instead of those 10 minutes, what if you see a 5-minute video from Bruce that's just packed with simple, amazing help and information, and then you comment there, right? Mm-hmm. So you're getting your dopamine rush, because we all like, let me comment and I'm going to like it, because that's what you get to do in the Patreon. You get to like the comment, you get to put a comment, and then see people respond. So instead, you can replace just once a day your 10 minutes on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, not to poo-poo it, but you can just simply replace it with 10 minutes in a Patreon platform where your comments and your likes and the comments you read lift you up, move you forward, get you feeling victorious, right? Yes. Yeah. And you don't have to fake it. And we're all being real. We're all being real.
And I want to say something really important that you've just touched on. So many people start their day by turning on the news, right? And you see who shot who or what's going on in some country. And the news is filled with this horrific information. Guess what? Your body doesn't know that you're not there. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you've already put yourself in the sympathetic, the fight or flight, that stress response red zone. And I hear people defend, oh, well, I need to know what's going on so I can be an informed person, because that's what makes me a better citizen. No, it actually doesn't. You'll find out about the stuff that's going on. But here's something that's really important to understand. There are no big things. Right? Everything is little things, right? The screen that you're looking at on right now as we record this video is millions of little teeny tiny dots, right? So there are only little things. Here's the deal. It's not so much that there is great strife and war and anxiety and a lack of peace in the world. There is, but why is that? It is that because there is a lack of inner peace in individual human beings, right? There will, I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but we all want world peace, okay? But as long as we're really pissed off because there's no world peace, we're contributing to a lack of peace.
Yeah.
There will not be world peace until every single human being on the planet has individual peace.
Exactly.
Because when I'm at peace with myself, it never even occurs to me to attack you, right? And so that's what's so important about this idea of working on ourselves, working on our mindset, working on our inner peace, because we're actually contributing to global peace.
Yeah. And I hope that everyone, so Vanessa, I want to ask you real quick, do you have a routine, a morning routine that sets you up for success?
100%.
Of course you do. And so that's why we're like nodding our heads, because we know for a fact that, like Bruce is explaining to us, when you change your routines, when you built in these habits that support you, little things, that's what makes the big difference. Big changes. Right. Yeah. And, yep. And so I do want to also say that the more often you do this, right, Bruce, like you mentioned on your cruises, we connect with each other, we stay connected. You are the sum, like they say, of like the people that surround you. So as you change your inner talk, as you change your routine, things around you are going to change for the better. It might be a little scary, but then you're going to see that you're connecting with like-minded individuals. Yeah, attracting all of that. That's how you and I connected, Vanessa. I was seeking that. You found me at my best, like doing much better. Bruce knows me. Now I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm doing much better. Yeah. But Bruce was in that timeline that, as Oprah Winfrey describes it, was the dark night of the soul. It really was. And I was yearning, right? Like I said, for peace. No small coincidence that I find a man with a very peaceful voice. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. And with peaceful things to say. So thank you, Bruce. You're impacting so many people all over the world, and you're going to impact that many more. That's why it was so important for me to have you on to really also celebrate. And I've learned that celebrate good time.
Come on. See, because we've missed some dance opportunities. It could have been a little bit of Bruce in my life.
That's right.
and then there can always be, you're a rich girl. Right?
No.
I'm a singer too. The comedian singer Bruce with the Mr. Rogers voice.
That's right. That's right.
Naughty Mr. Rogers.
No, but yes. So it's like, I wanted to celebrate you, celebrate this big milestone in your professional and your personal life, because it's all one. This is truly who you are. Like I said, I have the pleasure and the honor of calling you friend. So I know that this is, authentically, as the kids say, I'm being very authentic. This is who you are. So thank you for being you.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been like you. It's been a journey, right? Because there are people who know me now who also knew me 20 years ago, and it's like they don't know me now. Right?
Yeah.
Because they remember the cynical, sarcastic, snarky, just deeply unhappy Bruce that I was when I was in my early 40s.
And I'll tell you what, if I would have known you back then, which I don't, when you were in your darkest night of the soul too, I honestly would be feeling the same, to be honest with you, because I've seen you go through like the most recent thing that you shared with your brain aneurysm. And I would just tell Julio, my boyfriend, I'm like, I am blown away, still knowing all the things, how Bruce navigates his life, but everyone can do it. That's why they need to meet you.
And that's so important, right? I don't have the magic wand, right? But if I can do it, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do this. You just have to want to, right? Because and it's one of the things that is hard for people to change. Like I changed my entire personality, right? And there were people who actually liked that old Bruce, who don't like the new Bruce, and we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I still love them. If they needed something, I'd go, but our energies are disconnected. But there's something called a secondary gain, right? There's a payoff to being sick. There's a payoff to being unhappy, right? You see it on Facebook all the time. I had a friend I used to follow on Facebook, but I don't anymore because I just saw it perfectly. She posted a picture of her thumb bleeding. And it was like, so this just happened. I was making dinner for the kids and slicing tomatoes and slit my thumb open. Now, first of all, I'm thinking, okay, how about just a Band-Aid and go back to making dinner? But no, we've got to turn this into a social media post. But what she wanted was the thousands of, oh, you poor thing, you never catch a break. There's a payoff to that.
Yes.
Right. There's nobody saying to Bruce anymore, oh, you poor thing, you never catch a break. Right. And that can actually feel lonely. Right. And in that transition period, but I preface this to say it's worth it.
Yes.
It is so worth it to get
Yes.
rid of everything that's unhealthy in your life. Now, the ego is afraid of anything that's unknown. And so if you've been this way your whole life, change is daunting. Because you don't know how many people are going to like you on the other side of that. You don't know if you're going to like you. I promise you, you will if you're working on personal growth and inner peace and joy. But the ego is going to resist anything that it doesn't know, right? And so, but push through, keep going, be victorious over this. You've got it.
Be victorious. Well, I want to know, Vanessa, what's the one biggest takeaway that you just got from all this amazing information that Bruce shared with us?
Other than my singing and comedic skills.
Well, I call it a ritual, but having a routine is super important. I mean, down from a morning routine to even a night routine, like there's everything you touched on about the phones and all of that. It's so important.
We didn't even do the night portion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a whole day routine, not just a morning.
Exactly. So turning it into kind of viewing your life as a routine, right? Like setting yourself up for success. I resonate with everything you say. That's what the Rich Girl Mindset is all about. Being rich in mind, body, spirit, having control, the inner peace, the inner, so yeah, I'm riding your wave, Bruce.
I love it. Love it. And for our participant, Bailey, thanks for being here. Did you have any comment or question for Bruce that you wanted to share?
No, I loved it though. I'm looking forward to looking more into his book and everything. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bailey.
Thanks, Bailey. Well, I wanted to say, Bruce, that funny enough, I shared something in one of my networking groups this morning about the neurons in our brain, because you were talking about how our body's this manufacture, and it's so true. And I was like, wow, this is so on point too with what I shared, which is like, when you're in a conga line, or you do country line dancing, or you're in a circle with friends and you feel so connected, not just with yourself, but with others, right? We tend to just simplify it and say, oh my God, I had a great time. I had a fun time dancing with everybody. But here's what's happening in the body and in the brain that we're not aware of. So our neurons actually sync with each other's. The neurons sync. So when that message goes to the rest of the body through all the chemicals, I don't know all the details like you do, but that's where you start to get that feeling of connection. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just like with the victory routine, you're giving the victory pose, you're giving the message to your brain that sends it to your body. When you dance with others, as you're connecting with them, your brain is actually truly receiving the message, syncing up, and it's going to the rest of your body. So like you said, the same way that you're not going to see a saber-toothed tiger chasing you, you're like, oh, right. But when you're like, oh, you're not gonna be like, I'm gonna kick your butt, I'm so pissed. No, you're in the good zone. And it's the same thing when you're dancing and connecting with others. You're in the good zone. You're not going to be thinking about, your boss stressing you out or whatever. And even if you do return back to your whatever after you're done dancing, you're like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. That's cool. Like, let's see what we can figure out, because our brain is open to creative thinking and not being in that sympathetic system. So thank you for making those connections, because that
you're welcome.
Connected it for me even more. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank Vanessa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was we can go on forever. We know that.
Yes,
For
we
sure.
can.
Because I'm Cuban, I can talk, and it's like an Olympic sport for me. But
I don't have an excuse like I'm Cuban. Yeah, I need something like that. I can just talk for
You
hours.
just like talking.
No,
That's
you
the
can-
excuse.
Too.
no, you can. I'll give you permission to use me as an excuse. I have Cuban friends.
I have
and
Cuban.
since-
There we go.
And
Right.
then now
I'm channeling my Cuban friends.
there you go.
Nice.
So, but no, thank you. It's honestly, it's just so much value in everything you shared in your Patreon group and your podcast and your book. I'm just so excited. I know I'm going to hear from you about all the
Gems
amazing
everywhere.
people just dropping gems.
Love it.
I love you, Bruce. Thank you for your time.
I love you too.
Thank
And
you,
I-
Bruce.
And I'm
Thank
looking
you,
forward
Vanessa.
and see you on the flip side. See you on the cruise.
Indeed.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have an awesome day.